It turns out unearthing designer lingerie that's definitely not yours in the family SUV isn't a recommended therapeutic technique for spicing up a marriage. This was my otherwise completely average Tuesday afternoon, which suddenly became the grand finale of my husband's covert life, a drama I never tried out for, but somehow landed. The Unwitting Star. My name is Nia Jones. I am 38 years old, and up until last week I believed I was living the quintessential suburban dream in Upper Marlboro, Maryland. A lovely home with a pool we struggle to afford and two children, whose soccer schedules demand military-grade logistics, and a husband of 12 years I presumed was just navigating a mid-40s crisis with his newfound gym obsession. Spoiler: this gym had a name: AMMANI Williams, age 29. A personal trainer and a size small. Let's back up and detail this catastrophe in vivid technicolor for you. I work as a dental hygienist. That's right, the one who guilts you about not flossing while their fingers are inside your mouth. My husband Darius is an account manager for a software company. It's the kind of role where he wears chinos daily and gripes about corporate synergy over our rotisserie chicken dinners from Whole Foods. We have two kids together. Zola, our daughter, is 10 going on 16 with her TikTok obsession, and Langston, who is 7, collects rocks and dead insects with a concerning level of passion. Our marriage was far from perfect. Is anyone's? But I believed we were solid. The kind of pair who could aggressively stack the dishwasher to send a message, yet still recalled how the other took their coffee and sometimes managed a date night at P.F. Chang's when my mom would watch the children. 12 years we spent building our life together, enduring sleepless nights with our newborn's money troubles, and that one phase where Darius attempted to grow a beard that made him resemble a misplaced Brooklyn hipster. Then last Tuesday happened. I was behind the wheel of our Chevrolet Traverse, the ultimate vehicle that just screams, "I have surrendered to suburban life," and was reaching beneath the passenger seat for the pack of Orbit gum I always keep stashed there. Instead, my fingers brushed against something plastic. A shopping bag. Victoria's Secret, precisely. Now, had my husband actually bought me lingerie, it would have been first in about 3 years, and second a complete shock, as Darius typically gets me Amazon gift cards for special events with all the romance of an electric bill. I retrieved the bag, and there it was, a red lace bra with a matching thong tags attached in a size small. I wear a medium on my most hopeful days, and only after aggressively wrangling myself into some Spanx. Well, this is awkward, I muttered to absolutely no one inside the car. My mind immediately began the mental acrobatics that wives have mastered over centuries. Perhaps it's for me and he just bought the wrong size. Maybe it is for his sister's birthday. Is it possible our son is going through a very particular and alarmingly adult exploratory phase? But the logical side of my brain, the one that knows Darius, still wears holy boxer shorts because they're still good, knew precisely what this meant. So I did what any rational adult would do. I went to a Starbucks, ordered a venti latte with an extra espresso shot, and parked to have my impending nervous breakdown with proper caffeine reinforcement. Then I took out my phone and switched into full detective mode. First stop was our shared banking app. And there it was, glowing like a toxic betrayal on my screen: Victoria's Secret, $187.43. From just 2 days prior. The very day Darius claimed he was sweating it out at the gym. $187 for a few tiny red scraps of material that could barely conceal a sandwich. The sting of the financial deceit was nearly as sharp as the emotional one. Almost. It was time for some deeper digging. Google Maps location history. We enabled location sharing years back when Darius took a business trip to Seattle, and I feared he'd get turned around between his hotel and the convention center. The man had gotten lost in our local giant food. I pulled up his timeline for the day of the transaction. That small blue dot wasn't at Equinox. It was at the Macy's in Tyson's Corner. I then went back to his social media, an area I'd never bothered to watch because I just assumed he only used it to post terrible memes and debate football with college friends. It was then that a disturbing pattern emerged. Darius had been methodically liking and sometimes commenting on pictures uploaded by a certain AMMANI Williams. Her profile photo was of a fit, sun-kissed blonde in gym clothes, beaming with perfect teeth and clutching a protein shake like it held the secret to eternal youth. I tapped on her public profile, thank heaven or vanity, for her need for followers. AMMANI Williams, 29, a trainer at Elite Fitness. My husband's gym, a fan of sunsets, green juice, and motivational quotes on becoming your best self. Her pictures were a complete shrine to fitness, culture, workout clips, meal prep boxes arranged like a color wheel, and the occasional shallowly deep caption about shattering limits that was likely about weights. But now it held a completely different meaning for my present circumstances. I scrolled endlessly, my coffee forgotten, until I finally hit the mother lode. A picture from 3 weeks back. Darius, in the background of a group photo at a gym function, was staring at AMMANI with the exact look Langston gets staring at the Target Christmas toy catalog. Next, I checked their mutual friends list, and there it was. AMMANI knew Shayla, Darius's own cousin. The family link. That must be how they met. Shayla, the very one who kept telling Darius he needed to get fit for his 40th birthday next year. I continued, scrolling through AMMANI's life laid bare in filtered squares. Her latest post sent a genuine chill through me. A picture of Christmas Eve prep tagged at her mother's place in Richmond, Virginia. The caption said, "Getting ready for the best. Christmas Eve, dinner with the family. My mom's famous baked macaroni and cheese and all the trimmings. Blessed family. Time Christmas." I tapped the location tag and discovered her mother's page. Dolores Williams, 64, a parish volunteer coordinator and award-winning pound cake baker, and a grandmother to the kids of AMMANI's 3 siblings. Her page was also public, full of community events, church gatherings, and adoring family pictures. The picture-perfect Black American family getting ready for the perfect Black American holiday. And it was in that moment the ideal, devastating revenge came to my mind. I've spent years cleaning the teeth of others, hearing their issues while they were unable to reply, my hands being inside their mouths. I'd perfected the art of the pleasant smile while hearing about Janet's cruise trips or Robert's latest pickleball match. I had mastered patience. I became an expert at making people feel at ease during their most vulnerable moments. But now it was time to apply those skills quite differently. For 3 days, I orchestrated everything. I went to work, made the kids' lunches, washed Darius's clothes, and kept up polite chatter about his gym routine. I observed him sending texts beneath the dinner table and feigned complete ignorance to notice. I purchased a stunning black dress that made me look like I'd lost 10 pounds overnight. I had my hair styled the way the chic stylist at the salon said would perfectly frame my face. I applied makeup that for once was not from a drugstore. Then I took the red lingerie set, folded it with precision, and placed it in an elegant gift box with a gold ribbon. I penned a simple note. "AMMANI, you left this in my husband's car. I thought you might want it back. All the best, Nia." Jones, Darius's wife. On Christmas Eve at precisely 9:15 p.m., I drove to the address I had located with some light Facebook sleuthing. I stood on the porch of a perfect townhouse with a holiday wreath on the door, a black nativity scene in the window, and the warm sound of family conversation drifting out. I then pressed the bell, gift box in hand, wearing my best dental hygienist smile, the one that promises, "This won't hurt a bit," right before it hurts immensely. The door swung open to a woman in her 60s in a festive apron with reindeer on it and a smile that announced, "I am the neighborhood's designated baker." Dolores Williams. I presumed the matriarch of this flawless modern-day painting. "Hello, good evening," she welcomed me with authentic kindness. "May I help you?" I held my professional smile, the one that gets me through countless encounters with patients who insist they floss daily despite the small colonies flourishing between their teeth. "Hello, Mrs. Williams. I'm Nia Jones." I paused, letting the moment age like a fine wine, or in this instance, the vinegar that was about to be flung in someone's face. "I am so sorry to interrupt your Christmas Eve, but Amani left something rather important in my husband Darius's car, and I felt it right to return it to her. Personally." Mrs. Williams's eyebrows rose a fraction, but her hostess instincts took over. "Oh, how thoughtful, please. Do come in for a moment." "I can't stay long," I assured her, stepping into a foyer that smelled of roast lamb and cherished family tradition. I simply wanted to ensure that she received this. The living room appeared before me like a holiday spread in a home design magazine. A large dining table was set with actual cloth napkins, not the paper ones I use, for our nice dinners. A golden turkey sat on a platter, and gathered around it was the entire Williams clan: grandparents, siblings with spouses, and sweet children in party clothes who had not yet been marked by gravy stains. And there she sat, Amani, even more flawless in person, wearing a cream sweater that probably cost more than my entire closet. Her blonde hair cascaded over her shoulders in the exact waves I had always tried and failed to create with my flat iron. She was mid-laugh about something, but her expression froze solid the instant she saw me. The entire room fell deathly quiet as every single eye turned to the uninvited guest. I could almost hear the iconic needle scratch from a movie scene right before disaster is about to spectacularly unfold. "I'm so sorry, what was your name again?" Miss Williams questioned, her hostess reflex valiantly trying to rescue the moment. "Nia Jones, the wife of Darius Jones." I smiled at Amani, whose face was now the shade of the Cabernet on the table. "We've been married for 12 years, Darius and I, and have 2 lovely children." I watched the precise instant Amani's mind finally grasped the situation. Her gaze shot to the gift box I held, then back to my eyes, and then frantically scanned the room, desperately searching for some magical escape route to appear in her mother's dining room. "Ami, darling, are you acquainted with Ms. Jones?" Her mother inquired, her bewilderment palpable. An older gentleman, presumably Mr. Williams, rose from the head of the table. "Is something the matter?" "Everything is absolutely fine," I chirped, brightly. I was just returning an item Amani mistakenly left behind. It felt far too precious to simply post. I moved forward, setting the exquisitely wrapped package upon the table. Its golden ribbon gleamed beneath the dining room's chandelier, a beacon of coming ruin. "It's from Victoria's Secret," I helpfully added for context. I recall the price was $18,743. My husband's credit card statement was quite precise. The ensuing silence was so profound one could hear the pecan pie settling on the kitchen counter. Amani seemed ready to melt right into the hardwood flooring, a fitness expert suddenly incapable of engaging her own muscles to remain standing. "I'm not following," Ms. Williams uttered, her gaze shifting between her daughter and me. "Amani, what is the meaning of this?" Amani's brother, who appeared to be my age, started showing the first signs of understanding on his features. The wife next to him murmured something into his ear, causing his eyes to widen in shock. "Please feel free to open it," I kindly offered Ms. Williams. "I'm sure Amani wants to have her property returned." As if in a daze, Ms. Williams slowly untied the golden ribbon and then lifted the box's lid. The crimson lace ensemble rested inside in all its illicit splendor, the small size tag clearly displayed beside my handwritten message. Ms. Williams's hand shot to her mouth in shock. "Oh, good heavens!" Mr. Williams then leaned across to see what had caused his wife such alarm, and he straightened so abruptly I feared he'd pulled a muscle. His face began to flush. A deep crimson, not from shame, but from the sort of holy fury reserved for a father who has just discovered that his daughter was not the perfect angel he had always believed her to be. "Ami Isabel Williams," he boomed, using a tone I imagined was reserved for church deacons' meetings. Explain the meaning of this. Ammani at last found her voice, though it emerged out like a strangled whisper. Daddy, if I could just explain how another woman's husband bought you such intimate things. Her mother interjected, saying the words as if they were a foul curse. Vulgar profanity. Ammani's sister-in-law, a woman sporting a sensible bob and a look of pure judgment in her eyes, drew her two small children nearer as though to protect them from the moral decay erupting at their Christmas Eve dinner. Maybe I should make an exit. Ammani's teenage niece suggested, clearly reveling in this unexpected spectacle and already reaching for her phone. I could practically picture the family group chat alerts lighting up all across Richmond. No one is leaving this room until we have answers, Mr. Williams announced. I figured this was my cue to sprinkle a little more chaos on the fire. And, oh, I must mention Darius claimed he was at the gym when he purchased this. It seems leg day now involves a detour through the lingerie aisle, a truly fascinating fitness plan. Mrs. Williams faced her daughter, her eyes welling with tears. Is this real? Are you involved with a married man who has kids after everything we instilled in you about faith and family? I co-coordinate the premarital counseling program at our church, for goodness sake. The irony was more potent than the cognac they would have served after the meal. Ammani finally found her voice, though it trembled. Mom, Dad, this isn't what it seems. It seems like my spouse bought you pricey lingerie while claiming to be at the gym, I chimed in helpfully. Plus, he put the charge on our joint family card, the one for the children's needs. Zola will need braces soon, so every single dollar matters. Ammani's little nephew, no older than 6 years old, picked that exact moment to ask in a high-pitched voice, Auntie Ammani, why did someone else's husband buy you underwear? At that, Ammani's sister-in-law spewed her wine in a dramatic spray all over the white tablecloth, making an ink blot that oddly resembled the blueprint of a life falling apart. Children, go to the living room now, Mr. Williams commanded. With that last strike, I made my exit, the sounds of family chaos exploding behind me like a long dormant volcano finally erupting. While I headed toward my vehicle, I could hear Mr. Williams's powerful voice echoing from the open door. In my own home on Christmas Eve, the Lord is truly testing my faith. My traverse felt strange as I drove from the Williams family wreckage, somehow lighter. It was as if the sheer weight of the disgrace I'd just served up had actually raised my SUV a few inches from the pavement. I cranked up Beyoncé's Irreplaceable to a volume that would make Zola groan and Langston hide his ears. But my kids weren't there. They were at my mom's, completely oblivious that their own dad was the main character in a suburban drama about being unfaithful. I had left them at her house earlier, telling them Mommy and Daddy needed some private time. My mom just winked and spoke about keeping the spark alive. If only she knew the inferno I had in mind, the type that burns whole lives down to ash. I was almost home when my phone blew up with alerts. A call from Darius, a text from Darius, and Darius, seemingly realizing his affair was now public knowledge. I hit the Bluetooth and allowed his voice to flood the car. Nia, where are you? Ammani just sent me like 15 texts. What did you do? The sheer panic in his tone was exquisite, like that first taste of wine following a harsh day spent scraping plaque from the teeth of complaining patients. Why, hello, darling, I answered in the most syrupy voice I could manage. How is your Christmas Eve? Did you like your workout session today, Nia? What did you do? Every word of his landed like a stone falling into a deep well. I simply returned some property to its intended owner. Victoria's Secret has a firm no-return rule for lingerie, you see. For sanitary reasons. I stopped at a red light, glanced at myself in the rear view. I looked fantastic. Truly great. Oh, and by the way, Ammani's mother prepares a fabulous turkey. From the brief glimpse I got before the chaos, that is. Yu went to her parents' place. His voice reached a shriek I had only heard one other time when he'd found a spider in the shower, and screamed as if he were trying out for a horror movie. You should probably call her, I suggested, all helpfulness. She likely needs some emotional support about now. Her father looked like he was about to have a heart attack, and her mother was reevaluating every life choice she had ever made. The dinner table talk shifted from the sweet potatoes to, my daughter is a homewrecker, rather quickly. I'm coming home immediately. The line went dead. Flawless. Exactly as I'd planned. I pulled into our driveway, rushing inside. I had about 20 minutes before Darius got here, and I had to be prepared. This was merely the second act in my meticulously composed symphony of retribution. While I waited, thought I'd check Ammani's Instagram. Her most recent post from the morning featured her perfect manicure beside a tray of red velvet cupcakes, with the caption, "So grateful for new beginnings. Blessed excited family first." The hypocrisy was so dense you could cut it with a knife. Then my phone buzzed with a message from a number I didn't know. It's Shayla, Darius's cousin. I just found out what happened from Ammani. I am so terribly sorry. I didn't know she was involved with Darius. I thought they only knew each other from working out. Call me if there's anything you need. How interesting. So Shayla wasn't the matchmaker after all. She was just collateral damage in Darius's elaborate web of deceit. I saved her number. Having allies within the family could be quite advantageous. My phone buzzed once more. A text from an assistant at my clinic. OMG, Nia. Ammani Williams just made her Instagram private. Everyone is buzzing about what went down at her Christmas Eve dinner. Tracy's sister-in-law lives next to Ammani's cousin, and she got the entire story. Call me. Small towns. Just pretending to be cities. You simply had to adore them. The Upper Marlborough gossip chain moved much faster than our internet speed. I heard Darius's car pulling into the driveway. It was showtime. When he stormed through the door, he appeared to have aged 5 years within the last hour. His face was red, his hair was a mess, and he still had on that holiday sweater his mother got him last Christmas, which made him look like a cheesy walking holiday movie advertisement. Have you completely lost your mind? He hissed, shutting the door behind him and ensuring the neighbors weren't watching. His total meltdown through our large picture windows. That's an interesting choice for an opening line, I responded calmly, sipping the herbal tea I had prepared while I was waiting. I was expecting something more like, I am so sorry I destroyed our marriage, or maybe, please forgive me for buying another woman lingerie using our joint credit card. But no, let's go. With, have you lost your mind? Very creative. You embarrassed Ammani in front of her whole family on Christmas Eve. I placed my teacup down with deliberate care. It's fascinating that your primary concern is her humiliation, and not, for instance, the fact that you've been unfaithful to your wife of 12 years and the mother of your 2 children. Darius raked his hands through his hair, a nervous college habit that always appeared when he was caught in a lie, like the time he insisted he was studying but was actually at a sports bar watching the NBA Finals. It's not what you're thinking. Oh, really? Because I think you've been sleeping with your 29-year-old personal trainer while claiming you were getting into shape for your 40th birthday. I believe you purchased lingerie for her, using our family card, the very one for Langston's asthma medicine. I think you've led a secret life, assuming I was too wrapped up with our kids and worked to see it. Let's just calm down and talk about this rationally, he urged, changing his approach. The account manager within him was surfacing the side of him that pacified clients with empty platitudes and business speak. Rationally, you want to be rational. All right, let's be rational. I rose and headed for our home office. Darius trailed behind me, a look of confusion on his face, as plain as the presentations he constantly created. I flipped open my laptop, turning the screen to face him. Displayed was a carefully labeled, color-coded, and organized spreadsheet styled just like our family finances. But this wasn't our budget. This was entirely different. What is this? he asked, narrowing his eyes. This, my dear Darius, is what I'm calling Exhibit A in our divorce case, I said, with a saccharine smile. It is a detailed record of your affair with Ammani, including every timestamp, location, credit card payment, and inconsistency between the stories you told and where. Your phone's location data proves you were. His face shifted from red to white faster than our property taxes rose last year. You were tracking me. No, you tracked yourself through your Google timeline, our joint banking app. The very public likes on Ammani's pictures and the gym check-ins that just happened to match her personal training schedule she shares online. I was simply connecting the most obvious dots. I scrolled down the spreadsheet. Are you aware you haven't had a real workout in about 6 weeks? Yet you have somehow spent $340 at their smoothie bar. It must be thirsty work seeing Ammani show you how to do squats. This is a complete invasion of my privacy. He stammered, his voice filled with the false outrage of the guilty. I laughed a genuine laugh, and it felt incredible. Privacy in our marriage. That's quite rich coming from the man who demanded we share email passwords. Because married couples shouldn't keep secrets. Do you recall? That was just after I discovered those texts from your ex in college. And you promised me you were just reconnecting. Darius sank into the office chair, the weight of his predicament finally hitting him. What is it you want, Nia? There it was, the million-dollar question. What did I truly want? Vengeance, yes. And I had sampled the first course at the Williams home, but that was a mere appetizer. I craved the main course. I need you to look at the second tab on that spreadsheet, I said quietly. He clicked over and his eyes grew wide as he read the document. This is all of our possessions, correct? Our assets, our accounts, property investments, all of it. Do you see anything of interest in the distribution column? He scrolled further down, his expression becoming more frantic. You've assigned 70% to yourself along with primary custody of the kids, the house, and the Travers, which, by the way, needs new brake pads. You should probably handle that before I assume ownership. This is crazy. No court. Actually, I cut in. According to Patricia, you recall her, my patient, who is also one of the top divorce lawyers in the city. This is quite a generous proposal given the documented affair, your misuse of our funds, and the fact that I possess proof you escorted Ammani to our mountain getaway in Shenandoah last month while claiming to be on a team-building retreat. Darius's head jerked up. How? Because the security cameras at the apartment building also send alerts to my phone. Genius move. I watched you arrive with her on October 12th at 7:43 p.m. I possess the entire recording. Truthfully, I hadn't watched past their arrival. Some images are best left unimagined, but he didn't need to know that. I made a mistake, he whispered, his defiant act finally crumbling. I got carried away. She gave me attention, made me feel young again. Save the midlife crisis sob story for your therapist, I cut in. Here is what will happen now. You are going to sign these documents. I retrieved a manila folder from the desk. Then you will be going to pack a suitcase and stay at the Extended Stay America by the highway. I've already booked your room. Tomorrow you are to come back here at noon to explain to Zola and Langston exactly why Daddy won't be living with us anymore. You've thought of everything. He murmured, his voice a mix of utter defeat and a hint of grudging admiration. I smiled. I have spent 12 years managing our entire family's existence while you concentrated on your career and, it seems, your extracurricular pursuits. Organization is second nature to me. As I watched Darius trudge upstairs to pack his bags, I felt something surprising. Not glee, not even fury, but instead a peculiar sense of tranquility. The kind that settles when you know precisely who you are and what you're worth. My phone then vibrated, with a message from my mother. Kids are fine. Should I let them sleep over? I replied simply, yes, please. Everything is proceeding exactly according to plan. The following day arrived with the kind of pristine clarity that only follows an emotional hurricane. I slept more deeply than I had in months, sprawled diagonally across our king-sized bed, a small freedom. That felt utterly revolutionary after years of confining myself to my side. I rose early, brewed some coffee, and went over my battle plan for the day. Darius was due back at noon to speak with the children who would arrive from my mother's home at 11. This afforded me 3 hours to execute Phase 3, which I had dubbed the financial reckoning. I then opened my laptop and accessed our shared bank accounts, investment portfolios, and various retirement plans. Before Darius departed for the extended stay, which judging by his expression could have been called a prolonged stay in purgatory, he had already signed the documents I prepared, which included authorizing me to enact specific financial changes. First, I transferred his portion of our emergency fund less the cost of Zola's forthcoming braces and Langston's required summer camp for his asthma into a new account established solely under my name. Next, I settled my car loan and both our credit cards from our joint savings. After that, I contacted our investment advisor to begin the official process of dividing our retirement accounts. As outlined in the agreement, by 10:30 I had secured our financial future, mine and the children's. Darius would still depart, with his own retirement plan and sufficient funds to start again. However, the era of him controlling our family's finances was now officially concluded, much like his youth, his trustworthiness, and his skill at hiding intimate apparel. At 11 o'clock, my mother's Subaru rolled into the driveway. I watched from the window as Zola emerged from the car, her head down, likely messaging her friends. Langston tumbled out after her, tightly holding what appeared to be a new stone for his growing collection. My mother came next, holding their bags and wearing that familiar look that said, "I have thoughts about your life choices." "How are you coping, dear?" she inquired once the kids had vanished into their respective rooms. "Better than expected," I admitted truthfully. "It's incredible how fast 12 years of marriage get sorted when you find scarlet lingerie that doesn't belong to you." My mother's mouth formed a thin line. "Darius phoned your father this morning. That was a surprise. And your father informed him he's fortunate you didn't set his clothes ablaze on the lawn." She gave a grim smile. Then he disconnected. Retired military dads have a superb knack for getting straight to the point. Did Dad say if Darius even tried to justify his actions? It seems he mumbled something about a temporary lapse. And your father asked if he'd also temporarily forgotten he had a wife and 2 children these past few months. She gave my hand a gentle pat. I gathered them on the sofa. "This isn't about us getting a pool. It's much more serious." Langston clutched his rock even tighter. "Is Daddy sick?" "No, sweetie. Daddy is fine, at least physically." His moral state was an entirely different matter. The doorbell chimed precisely at noon. Say what you want about Darius Jones, the man was always on time for major events, and apparently for arranging his affairs. He looked dreadful, the specific kind of terrible you get from a cheap motel bed. A hotel mattress that has hosted too many weary travelers and not nearly enough sanitizing. His eyes were bloodshot and puffy. His clothes were creased and he'd missed a patch while shaving. "Please come in," I said stiffly, as if he were a complete stranger. A solicitor instead of the person who had watched me give birth 2 times. The kids ran to him with their typical excited energy. For their benefit, I kept my face impassive, not the "your dad is a massive letdown" look I'd rehearsed in front of the mirror earlier. "Why doesn't everyone have a seat?" I proposed after the first greetings. "Your father has something very important to share." Darius shot me a glance that clearly said, "I thought we'd do this together." But I returned a smile that conveyed, "You created this disaster. You can begin the cleanup." "Zola Langston," his voice broke a little. "Your mother and we've decided that I'll be living in a different place for a little while." Zola's phone fell to her lap, which was a modern miracle. "Are you getting a divorce?" It takes a 10-year-old to get right to the heart of the matter. I'm certain she inherited that trait from my family. "Yes," I replied when Darius appeared, unable to say it. "We are getting a divorce." Langston's bottom lip began to quiver. "But why don't you love each other now?" Darius appeared like a man awaiting his execution. Sometimes grown-ups make errors, he started, selecting his words with caution. I made a huge mistake that caused your mommy a lot of pain. What did you do? Zola insisted abruptly, transforming into a protective child. Darius glanced my way for assistance. I just lifted an eyebrow. This is your mess to handle. I was dishonest with your mother. I shattered the vows I took when we wed. Zola's eyes narrowed in a manner that was frighteningly similar to my own mother's expression. You were unfaithful, weren't you? Just like Olivia's dad and her nanny. Her pinpoint accuracy rendered Darius silent. I stepped in, wrapping my arm around Langston as he began to cry. That's right, Zola. Your father was involved with another person, and that is why our marriage is ending. Is she prettier than you? Zola demanded, her stare piercing enough to make a weaker man disintegrate. Nobody is prettier than your mom, Darius answered. For just a fleeting second, I nearly recalled why I'd married him. Nearly. The discussion went on with Darius outlining the new housing situation, the visiting times, and constantly reassuring the kids that this was in no way their fault and that we both loved them beyond anything else in the entire world. Following a draining hour, Darius departed, vowing to call later and visit them tomorrow. Langston held on to me tightly as Zola stormed into her room, giving me a glimpse of the adolescence just ahead. The moment Darius backed out of the driveway, a polished black Mercedes-Benz glided in behind him. A woman in an immaculate pantsuit stepped out holding a leather briefcase. It was Patricia Vez, divorce lawyer supreme and my Thursday afternoon dental client for the last 6 years. The expression on Darius's face when he saw her was worth every cent of her $400 hourly rate. He drove off with the slumped shoulders of a man who knew he was utterly outplayed. Punctual. I welcomed her at the entrance. As always, her smile was professional. He had signed the initial documents. Every single page. I confirmed, guiding her into the dining room where every piece of documentation was already laid out. Excellent. And how are the children handling it? Just as I predicted, Zola understood instantly. Langston is bewildered, but he is resilient. Patricia nodded. Kids have a remarkable way of adjusting. Now let's ensure your financial future is more solid than my grandmother's prize-winning recipe. Over the next 2 hours, we finalized paperwork, placed calls, and fortified my standing. When Patricia departed, I had morphed from an almost divorced mother into a self-reliant woman whose future was legally airtight. I was preparing dinner when my phone buzzed with a text from an unfamiliar number. My name is Dolores Williams. Your husband's cousin Shayla provided your contact. I wish to express my apologies for my daughter's conduct and to inform you that our family does not condone destroying others. We have instructed AMMANI to find another place to stay and contemplate her actions. Should you need anything, do not hesitate to reach out. P.S. I have also removed her from her role as co-coordinator for the church youth group. I saved her number, unexpectedly moved by this gesture from the woman whose Christmas Eve celebration I had so dramatically upended. A second text arrived, this one from the director of my dental practice. Heard AMMANI Williams was let go from Elite Fitness after 3 clients, all of whom are married. Women lodged complaints about her training techniques with their spouses. Your little Christmas Eve reveal is the gossip of every salon in Upper Marlborough. See you on Monday. P.S. Everyone here is rooting for you. A smile touched my lips as I stirred the sauce. The universe possesses a method for settling its own scores, but now and then it appreciates a small push in the proper direction. My phone began to ring once more. It was Darius. I let it go to voicemail. Whatever emergency he was facing could wait until the morning. This night belonged to me and my kids. Our first meal in what the legal documents coldly termed a newly restructured family unit. I preferred a different term for it, the start of our next chapter. So much can change in just 6 months. It's been half a year since the Christmas Eve lingerie debacle, which my clinic coworkers now speak of in hushed, reverent tones. And my life has reshaped into something I'd never envisioned, something far superior. Springtime in Maryland brings seasonal allergies, tourists escaping the cold, and in my own case, the final divorce papers arriving via certified mail. I signed for that very envelope in the exact black dress I'd worn to hand over that gift box at the Williams's dinner party. A poetic justice. I thought even if only I could appreciate the irony. "Mom, everyone knows you can't stand small dogs," she stated. Just like we all knew Dad was being so secretive with his phone for months. She grabbed an apple from the fruit bowl. "Langston and I discussed it. We're just happy you aren't sad anymore." A sudden lump formed in my throat. "When did you become so very wise?" I asked. She shrugged, a display of perfect nonchalance. "Probably when Dad tried to persuade us that the swimming pool at his new place could make up for him missing Langston's science fair." She bit the apple. "It really doesn't, by the way." Once she was gone, I sat at our kitchen island. No, my kitchen island now, and considered all the unexpected gifts that had emerged from Darius's betrayal. The first was self-respect. I'd always taken pride in my ability to be forgiving, so accommodating and understanding. I learned those qualities in excess just turn you into a doormat. The moment I stepped into the Williams Christmas Eve party carrying that lingerie box was the day I took back. A part of myself I hadn't realized was gone. The second gift was community. The Upper Marlboro Moms Mafia, as my staff calls them, gathered around me with a surprising ferocity. They dropped off food offered to babysit, and most significantly, they orchestrated the social banishment of Darius and AMMANI from any place more upscale than a Wawa. The third gift was freedom. The freedom to eat ice cream right out of the carton without Darius commenting on my portion. Control. The freedom to watch my true crime shows instead of his endless football games. And the incredible freedom to rediscover the Nia Jones that existed before she was Mrs. Darius Jones. And speaking of Darius, he'd adjusted to his new role of weekend dad with the same zeal as a man sentenced to community service. He also just received a promotion at his job. It seems that having fewer family duties gave him more time to ascend the corporate ladder, and he'd begun sending the kids extravagant gifts I was fairly certain his personal secretary had picked out. My phone buzzed with a calendar notification. Girls' night at Marcella's place, 7 p.m. Another one of those unexpected gifts. True friendships with the women I'd formerly only known as Tyler's mother or Zola's friend's mother. I learned that nothing forges a bond between women quicker than rallying to help one of their own emerge from the wreckage left by a cheating husband. Speaking for myself, I was also promoted from hygienist to clinic director with a pay increase that made Darius's alimony seem more like a pleasant bonus rather than an actual necessity. I started taking photography classes on the weekends. I also joined a book club that genuinely discussed the books, and I reconnected with my pre-marriage love for hiking. Just last weekend, I made the hike up Great Falls my first time in many years and sent a selfie from the top to my new group chat, which is called Post-Divorce Glow Up Committee. Langston materialized in the kitchen doorway, breaking my trance. "Mom, can Tyler come over to see my new rock exhibit?" "Of course, sweetie. I'll text his mom." "Thanks." "Oh, and Dad phoned. He mentioned he might be running late for pickup tomorrow because of a work thing." Langston shrugged. "I told him it's fine since we're going to Aunt Elena's pool afterward regardless." My sister Elena, another bond that had been fortified after the divorce. Her pool was far bigger than the one at Darius's apartment complex, a fact the kids delighted in pointing out to their father. As Langston hurried off to organize his treasured stones, I uncorked a bottle of wine. Not the cheap vintage Darius always bought, but the fine Merlot I developed a palate for on my recent girls' trip to Napa. I poured myself a generous glass and carried it out onto the back patio. A classic DC sunset was painting the sky with hues of orange and pink, the perfect backdrop for reflection. Had anyone told me last Christmas Eve that I'd be sitting in this very spot today, officially divorced, thriving and truly happy, I would have dismissed them as delusional. But life has a strange way of working out. Sometimes the deepest betrayals pave the way for the brightest futures. Sometimes it takes opening a box of scarlet lace to finally shut the book on a life that never truly fit. And occasionally, just occasionally, revenge isn't served cold. In fact, it's served during a Christmas Eve meal tied up with a gold ribbon and accompanied by a side of profound, life-altering clarity.